Good morning students and welcome today to the online class on theoretical aspect of valuation of the future contract. So as we know that there are the three different methods of valuation of future or forward contracts, as we already used few of the models in our previous class for the numerical problem. Let's today discuss some of the theoretical aspects of this model so that we have a more clarity, and these are very much useful when we use from the point of a speculator to calculate the fair value. So this valuation, we all know that we use valuation to calculate the fair value of the underlying asset. This helps in terms of comparing the fair value with the future value and then determine whether the underlying asset is an underprice or the underlying asset is an overprice. Then we can decide what position to be taken, whether the long position to be taken or the short position to be taken, right? So standardly speaking, there are only three different methods of valuation. One is valuation of an underlying asset, that is for future and forward, when the given characteristic of an underlying asset has no history or no any prediction of paying the income. Income we are referring here with respect to the interest rates, if the underlying asset is an interest rate derivatives, or if can be an equity where there is no dividend, right? When you say no income, no interest receivable, or there is no dividend receivable, such in a simple underlying asset which has no history of dividend or no history of interest rates, where we want to calculate the value of an underlying asset, the fair value of an underlying asset, we use this model, right? The second model is based on the income. When you say income, here if the underlying asset is the interest rate, there is a possibility of income in the form of interest rate in the form of cash. If the underlying asset is a stock or an index, possibility would be there in the form of cash dividend, right? The third is based on again the income, but income is not defined in a rupee term. Here the income is defined in terms of percentage and it is expressed per annum basis. That makes the difference, right? The second model, which is income in the form of cash, which is expressed in rupee term and which has a specific time frame. So dividend going to be declared within 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? When you say yield is expressed for per annum, not for specified period of time, right? Now let's look at what is the model that we use for calculating the future value for the underlying asset for a future and a forward when there is no income, right? The simple formula that we have been already used, that is F is equals to S naught into e to the power of RT. F stands for fair value, S naught stands for the current spot rate, and exponential to the power of R into T. R is a risk-free rate and the T is a time frame, okay? Time frame for the contract that we have been looking to know the fair value. Okay, coming to the second model, here where the underlying asset has a history and there is a possibility of paying the dividend in the form of cash, right? And the formula goes like this. The formula is fair value F equals to, open the bracket, S naught minus capital I, close the bracket, e to the power of RT. So here the S naught stands for current index value or the current value of the stock or the underlying asset. I, capital I stands for present value, right? Keep in mind, I stands for present value of the dividend stream which we are going to receive in the future, right? The future dividend what we are going to receive, right? So we are supposed to take the present value of the dividend, right? So S naught is the current index minus present value of the dividend, close the bracket, exponential to the power of R into T. Again, R is a risk-free rate and the time T is the time period for the expiry of the contract, right? So S naught is very clear, which is given, R is very clear, risk-free rate, T is the time period for which we are supposed to calculate the fair value for the contract. Coming to the I, that is the present value of the dividend. What is that we are supposed to do here is, before we directly input the value here, first we need to calculate the present value of the dividend, right? The present value of the dividend, which is represented by I, or you can give any other symbol, that does not make the difference. Only thing you need to give the explanation, right? So I equals to I into e to the power of minus RT. Keep in mind here, when you want to calculate the present value, you take exponential to the power of minus RT, right? By taking exponential to the power of minus, right, the future dividend, we are converting that to the present dividend. Fine. So I equals to I, which is the dividend which is given in the question to you. What is the dividend that you are going to receive? into e to the power of minus r. R is a risk-free rate which is common for the contract as well as for the dividend. So risk-free rate is which is common for all the underlying asset. T refers to the dividend, not for the contract. We should be very clear and we should not get confused here, right? So when you take the present value of the dividend, the time period T that we take here is for the dividend, in what time that we are going to receive the dividend, fine. So here T refers to the number of days in which, or number of months within which we are going to receive the dividend. But if you look at the T with respect to the fair value, when we are calculating the fair value of the contract, the T is referred to the contract expiry. In this T, for the present value of the dividend, we are referring to the number of days in which we are going to receive the dividend, fine. So once you get the present value of the dividend, again substitute the value into the main formula, that is fair value is equals to, open the bracket, s naught minus I into e to the power of RT. Simplify first s naught minus I, whatever the value you get, then simplify exponential to the power of R into T, you will get the fair value of the contract. Coming to the third model, that is calculating the fair value of the underlying asset, where the dividend is in the form of yield, right? So as you all said, like the yield is always expressed in the percentage form. The formula goes like this: F is equal to s naught into e to the power of R minus y into T, or we can say that exponential to the power of, open the bracket, R minus y into T. R, we all know that it is a risk-free rate of return, y is a dividend yield, then close the bracket. T refers to the time period of the contract, right? Substituting these values, R risk-free rate, dividend yield, we always make sure that the dividend yield is being expressed per annum into T, by which we will get the fair value of the contract, fine. By this we will be closing the all the three theoretical model. So next we will take up the question number 7 and try to apply the model and discuss. Thank you.